Hello everyone, where are we now? February. A beautiful sunny day. You would think it was spring, but in theory it's midwinter. But let's give you a little quick squidge around the plot to show you what I've done to prepare for what's going to be a good spring. And the hanging basket's doing alright, and the bulbs are all beginning to show. In fact, there's one of them strange cheap old tulips that I bought just showing there, look. But they're all up anyway, everything's looking good. Yeah, horse poo for sale. Oh, the last of me scraggy parsnips. Oh, in the cold frame, well, it's doing okay. I've been pulling them onions as spring onions. I've got some lettuce. When it's going to be really cold, I light that candle under there, and it does okay. It puts about 4 or 5 degrees in that frame. But whether those beetroot and stuff are going to come to anything, and the carrots, I'm not really sure. But anyway, you got to go for it, haven't you? Then our community area needs a bit of a clean up, bit of a tidy up. I've got a few bits and pieces growing in here. Always nice bit of winter colour, look. There's always a bit of winter colour. But there we go. Oh, and we got one there as well. Oh, and I did make some candles and I've put tobacco in them. I'm going to give them a go, but I've just given my greenhouse a really good clean out. I've scrubbed it, I've scrubbed the glass, and everything's good in here. Everything's had a scrub with Jay's fluid. I'm going to give this a go. As a couple of peppers, they haven't damped off, so I've just cleaned them off and hopefully they sprout out. Whether they will or not, I don't know. Peas are doing alright. I lost quite a few. I think they damped off. You know, the weather conditions are really extremes. Oh, and I'm just preparing to sow some more peas and some broad beans. Also, there's I've got a pepper, not a pepper, Cape gooseberry there in a pot. I've got two buckets here with sprouted potatoes, just to give me my first earlies. And there's a self-sown, I think that's called a volunteer, isn't it? Cape gooseberry. It is in a pot because I had a tomato growing in there. I'm going to leave it until it's warm enough, then I'm going to pull that out and I'm going to put it in the ground. Okay, let's go on rain then. Oh, I've been washing all my pots in Jay's fluid, giving them a scrub with the brush. I'm putting them in a bucket with Jay's fluid in the water, and then they get washed and let the sun dry them off. And then the capillary pads, I've washed all them. I might use them, I might not. Anyway, coming on round then, the strawberry bed I've weeded. I just put some wood ash on it from the fire last night, and hopefully they're all going to start showing good. Then, generally speaking, the beds I've simply dug them over because I'm only digging the top bit because we've had some really good frost, so it's worth getting the frost in there to kill all sorts of things, in particularly wireworms. Then me garlics are doing good, and me onions and me broad beans. Everything is really looking good. There's me garlics. Look. Oops, there's a pot there falling over. I better stand that up. Oh, and then I've got some sweet peas in that frame. Then my spinach, that's coming on. It just needs a little bit of warm weather, but I still manage to pick a few leaves each time I come, which is kind of every other day. And it, you know, and I manage to get a little feed from the spinach. Grapevines have all been pruned. I'm hoping now that I'm gradually getting better at this pruning. Every time I think I know what I'm doing, and when I start I think, is that right? It's really well, I think I got it right this time. So I've got one of last year's, no, the year before last, and I've got two of last year's. So it's a kind of Goya system. Then I've got some really nice looking cauliflowers there, just waiting for the spring to come round. Then nothing much else. I've just covered this ground up with some cardboard just to, so that goodness don't get washed out. This is where I grew my melons last year in here, but what I've done in here is I've put in there 4 or 5, in fact I can just see a shoot, 4 or 5 potatoes. I'll put seaweed in there first, then a bit of already rotted compost, 4 or 5 potatoes, and then some more compost on top. Asparagus, now I've got a feeling I saw one just showing, considering this is only the first week of, there he is, look at that. There you go, look at that. So I'm quite pleased with that. I don't know whether it survives if there's a frost or not. Then the dessert grapes the same. I'm getting better at pruning them. I've got an everlasting leek there. Never grown it before, but mate of mine gave me the small plant, and it can't be wrong because it's got 3 or 4 leeks in it. And somehow I've ended up with one in the path. And once again, these grapevines, this is their 3rd year. So I'm hoping I've got it right. For the pruning, I'm going to do those Goya. That's the Sauvignon and a Chardonnay. Sprouts are all but finished. There's a couple more cauliflowers there. Then the potato beds are ready to go. Well, this one will be a potato bed, but that's a potato bed. As you can see from last year, that was timber around the edge, and now I've put paving slabs around. And filled it up with compost, so I'm quite pleased with that. And I'm almost now 100% paving slabs all around. There's still a couple of beds with timber around, but I will eventually they'll all have paving slabs around, all ready for my old age. Carrots, I've got a few carrots still in there. They're still coming and they're still good. That's what the glass is for. Play a trick on them so make them think it's still summer. But I still manage to grow it. Then I've got some burridge to grow in here, a little bit of chard, Swiss chard. I don't think these cauliflowers, they're not, they're broccolis, look, and they're tiny. They were kind of, someone gave me them plants and I put them in just to see what's what, and not much has happened. The leeks have been brilliant. I've been pulling the leeks. Then the fruit bushes, I've pruned the middles of the fruit bushes out. This one still needs doing, but I have to swat it up every time because I forget which is which and what. Then my strawberries up here. Yeah, I dug them out and I've redone them all. So we'll wait and see what happens there. That's the just add cream. That's super. Then this bed here did have beetroot. There's my last of the beetroot there. A few of those are still quite nice, so we can go for that. And we come on round. The carrot bed, I took the soil out of the carrot bed. I took about a foot of the soil out of the carrot bed. I put a piece of cardboard on what was left, and now I've covered it with compost and sand mixed, and then I've put this on the top and the black polythene to warm it up. So I'm going to sow early carrots and a couple of parsnips because I want them to try and see if I can get a giant parsnip. Right, then we've got my shallots are doing okay good. There were some late sown carrots there. They're not bad, you can still get one, but it's only about 3 or 4 inches long. Yeah, so the shallots are doing good. Those shallots, I've been growing those shallots probably 30, 40 years, and I just save a few every year. Then peach tree, I've got that covered. It worked. Last year it worked. I didn't have leaf curl in the top ones. I'm going to actually cover it a little bit more, and it's just beginning to show. It's just beginning to show that it's coming into into leaf. And the pear tree and the apple tree, I've pruned the apple tree and I've pruned the pear tree. I haven't pruned it heavy, but every year it's good. Then I've started a new strawberry bed here, in this, where it gets trapped in the sun. And this bed is another bed that I've put large bits of slate around the outside that somebody gave me. And then this end is going to be all sorts. I've written it on there. That's going to be leeks and parsnips, all sorts. But eventually that will be a full bed. Pond. Well, it's a pond. Oh, the bees. Let's go and have a look at the bees. Bentley, there's my friend's allotment there. All been deep dug, and it works. The deep digging works just as good as the raised beds. And there we go. Can't quite get it right. Yeah, look at that. How busy are they? And I do believe they're bringing in. Yeah, that one went in. That's got pollen, yellow pollen, probably crocuses. Look at that. They're well busy. So there we go. Then I've got behind there. I've got this plastic in the way that I'm going to use to cover me peaches, but behind there are my bins that have got potatoes in. I put seaweed in the bottom and I've put in some potatoes. So there's the plot. There we go. Let's all hope for a nice spring, shall we? Happy gardening. Bye.